My role this morning is to talk about the relationships between AONBs and business. What it is, what it isn't, what it could be, what it should be and what it may be. But first a bit about me and the business that I work for. I'm Head of Sustainability at Landmark Support Services, and a long time ago I worked on the Gower AONB and then went on to help set up Loch Lomond and the Trossachs National Park. Spent a couple of years as Superintendent of Epping Forest for the City of London Corporation, one of only two sovereign wealth funds in the UK, the other one being in the Shetland Isles, somewhat different from the City of London. And in the very distant past I also worked for the Woodland Trust. There we go. Landmark is a support services and facilities management company. We also do construction. We're owned by a UK PLC called Interserve and an American corporation called PAE. I won't go into what that stands for. We're about 1,300 people, with about 700 in our direct supply chain, which is made up of the likes of ESS Compass, who do catering for us, Smith School, Carter Jonas, who do estate agency and land agency for us, and Jacobs, who do our environmental consulting. And last year we turned over a bit more than £100 million. We're not a big business. We work mostly in the UK, and 95% of our business is one contract with the MOD's Defence Infrastructure Organisation to manage the National Defence Training Estate. We're in the 12th year of a 10-year contract. Welcome to MOD contracting. But luckily enough, we just won the recompetition of our contract, so we'll be around for at least another 5 and potentially another 10 years. As part of that contract, we look after 240,000 hectares, that's 1.5% of the UK, from the Orkney Isles in the north to Cornwall in the south, from the coast of Antrim in the west to the coast of Lincolnshire in the east, and it's mountain, moor, heathland, grassland, woodland, forest, beaches and mudflats. Mudflats are quite new to us. We've only recently acquired those. We are in rural locations, and that's our point of difference. We deliver complex and comprehensive services in some very rural locations, many of which are designated for their landscape, biodiversity and cultural significance. We have international, European, national, local, regional designations. We have about 1,200 farming tenants, and these tenants are major recipients of agri-environment funding, which enables the estate to deliver the sort of national requirement for natural capital and ecosystem services, as well as our requirement for training and defence. Our relationships with regulators and stakeholders in these areas are vital to our licence to operate and our clients' licence to train. We maintain this through a range of programmes that we seek to sustain and grow rural communities in which we live. We have rural enterprise hubs, we have a Landmark 100 Innovation Fund, we have a VITC Rural Business Connector in Northumberland, and we will use an almost exclusively local supply chain. And we deal with advocacy for rural issues through a leadership team seat on the Princess Rural Action Programme and as an advisor on the EU's Business and Biodiversity Platform. Now, don't worry if this doesn't sync with what I'm saying, because what I'm now going to go on and talk about is a bit about how business thinks, and this is the sort of backdrop and the wallpaper to all the issues that business is currently tackling and the stuff that maybe you like to think about when engaging with business. Hopefully the previous bit makes me qualified to talk. When the organisers asked me to come and talk to you, Jill very helpfully sent me a copy of a presentation that I did to an AONB conference or meeting in Birmingham back in 2010. And she said, which was about business relationships, building relationships with business. And she said, quite a lot has changed for us. What has changed for you? And the answer is, everything has changed for everybody, and it constantly changes. At a more recent AONB meeting, along with a number of other business people, I was asked, why would business want to engage with AONBs? My answer was short and possibly slightly unhelpful, because it was, why not? I apologise for the unhelpful aspect of that. As a business, when you find a group of organisations that are forward-leaning and progressive, agile, and that can demonstrate their connectedness through their intelligent use of their power to convene, community leaders, activists, local and national political leaders, and the passing trade of the casually interested, why wouldn't you? When these organisations are also made up of world-class thought leaders, project managers and communicators, it becomes a case of why haven't you? And I'm not just blowing smoke. That is genuinely what I think about you. I believe that Landmark is one of that large group of responsible businesses that are working hard to meet the highest standards of business management. It's a long list, but a few worthy names on that list include Interserve, Kingfisher, Marks & Spencer's, National Grid, Patagonia, Jaguar Land Rover, ArcelorMittal, Walmart and PwC. These are not scary organisations driven purely by a single-minded pursuit of profit. Yes, we need to make a profit, it's why we are here, it's at the heart of our business model. However, the founding principles of business is to find solutions to problems, to meet customers' needs, to provide our investors with a return on that investment, hopefully in proportion to the risks that they've taken in the investment they've made. These businesses and the next generation of leading responsible businesses are interested in AOMBs as we have to move away from the standard corporate social responsibility agenda to a more holistic, sustainability-driven approach. Beyond simple, incremental, performance-driven improvements, 2% carbon reduction per year. Yawn, yawn, yawn. We're never going to get anywhere doing that. We seek to create new value through delivering transformational business offerings. Now, other than a bit of business school jargon, what does that actually mean? These new businesses have found, and are hoping to find more, ways of meeting their customers' needs and doing it in a way that not just does less harm, but actually does good. Because we know that that's what we have to do. These businesses will deliver investor returns by enhancing cultural and landscape and biodiversity, by protecting the most important habitats and valued places, at the same time as delivering the social and economic gains we all need. Yes, we're still going to make a profit out of doing this, and we're going to employ people to do it. But right at the front of the point is we've got to do good by doing these things. Many of these businesses will have an international perspective. David's already alluded to the sort of the global sort of reach of business. And we understand that business, climate change is still an issue for us, sorry government, and biodiversity loss is global. And so are protected areas and protected landscapes, landscapes for life, AOMBs, national parks, etc. We see the AOMBs as part of that global family of protected areas and are leaders in building those cross-sector relationships between companies, regulators, advocates, employees, neighbours that will create and drive transformational change needed to meet the challenge of 9 billion people on the planet by 2050. You may be surprised to hear that it's not a frequent conversation in FTSE 250 boardrooms, but those execs and non-exec directors of those companies do think about this at least once a year. It is good governance to do that. There's no room anymore for environmental bomb blast and doom mongers. This is a massive turn-off for the vast majority of people, and it creates headspace and oxygen for climate change deniers. We've got to stop doing that. We have to talk about positive things. Our customers and yours are looking for positive and tangible benefits and impacts from meeting the challenges of the 9 billion and climate change and solving these problems really well. The AOMB community is perfectly placed to help business in this mission. You are thought leaders and doers, and we like doers even more than we like thinkers. There's much talk of things like natural capital, ecosystem services, circular economy. Meeting the opportunities these new business strands offer will require innovative thinking, innovative products, highly creative use of things like digital channels, and most certainly not business as usual. The AOMB has a track record as a family in delivering all of these things, so any business will be a fool not to engage, not to take that meeting or listen to your offer. The biggest drawback in all of this is you probably don't know what you have. As I've already alluded to, I spent 20 years of my first professional life working in the public sector on landscape and recreation, with a short flotation in the voluntary sector. In that time I saw some amazing and innovative work, never more so than the 5 years I spent in the Gower. I was lucky enough then to to move on from the country's first AOMB to Scotland's first national park. Many may think that's a step up, and I certainly was in terms of I moved 300 miles north. I went to an organisation that was being built alongside a newly empowered nation, one that may be more empowered in the near future. Let's hope not, but maybe. That's my bit of politics. And it was understood that having a national park was a critical part of nation building. It's a genuinely global brand. We've already talked a bit about brands. Again, alongside the then usual suspects of Coca-Cola and Mickey Mouse, the papacy, and the modern pretenders of Google, Facebook, Twitter, Nike, Superdry, Vodafone, LG and Samsung. This was an organisation that was well funded and well supported, but not radical. Being created more in line with the values of Addison, Hobhouse and Dower's vision of landscape protection than those of a new century in which it was born, a century of which new technology offerings are merging, digital, physical, local, global, automated and personalised services, a century that more so than ever is being built on trusted relationships. National Parks is a great brand. It's a trusted brand. A brand is really important in the modern world of micro attention spans and flicking through supersonic Twitter feeds. There's a Twitter feed over there in that right hand corner. AONBs have a great product to sell and need to get out there and sell it to business. And you have a great brand to sell it with. Not AONB, please. But the Gower, the Cotswolds, the Quantocks, the Northumberland Coast, the North Pennines. These are names that marketeers kill for. Each comes with a unique and a beautiful heritage. A heritage that cannot be devalued as it's viral, it's self-replicating, and it appears to each customer as a manifestation of their own needs. I know that's almost worthy of a sort of Star Trek or a Doctor Who episode, but I hope you understand what I mean. There's no need for technical debates about intellectual property and ownership. Just get out there and sell the values that the AONB stand for, and don't worry about anybody else's statutory purpose or legal persona. So what are you selling? Engagement. Engagement beats brand every time. I know Superdry makes clothes, but that's it. I'm not engaged with the brand at all. Business has no shortage of statutory consultees. For planning and waste management, employment to advertising, there's an endless list of people we have to talk to. These relationships are mostly transactional. Some may, through frequent interactions, have developed into something more trusting, but at the end of the day, there is a list of boxes to tick, and we will tick them all. It's about compliance. There is, however, a genuine shortage of bodies to engage with, to have a long-term or longer-term, deeper relationship that is characterised by peer-to-peer sharing of the challenges and the opportunities, and a mutual need to design solutions through testing and prototyping. That's what we as business do. Just like smart cities, there is a market and a need for smart landscapes. To generate energy, to clean and manage water, to pollinate crops, to produce our food, and to recharge our sort of cultural and emotional self, and keep us connected to our humanity. You are the obvious people to lead the way on this. You are marvellously free of multiple, overwhelming statutory purposes. You are trusted by your stakeholders. You have an ability to convene diverse groups of interested parties, to have open and honest conversations about the art of the possible. Your standing enables those conversations about not business as usual to take place in an atmosphere where people listen and consider before they object. They may still object. So why hasn't this happened? This is the really challenging bit. Mostly because you have not wanted it to. As I've already said, I spent much of my early career in the public sector. I was driven by a sense of duty and service, wanting to demonstrate that the public sector could deliver unquestioned public services and benefits in a cost-effective and efficient manner. I was a staunch defender of the public sector as a delivery vehicle. In fact, I would say I would go beyond that, and I was a robust advocate of the public sector. And I wasn't wrong, the public sector is very good at policy, shaping the governance of a country, a region, a county, a district, a protected landscape. This was at a time when there appeared to be a strong resource base, an appetite for change. Today we are looking at a world that is struggling to balance the books, and we've already talked about that, and I'm sure you've talked about very little else. We are not where we were before 2008, and there is unlikely to be any more public money for landscape protection. There is a need to find another way, and this will require cross-sector partnerships that are built on trust, engagement, sharing, peer-to-peer in every way. The future of the living landscape community is very strong. Use the freedom that you have to take that transformational leap that is needed to ensure the future of landscape protection. Stay lean, stay agile, stay connected to your communities, and talk to the businesses that will listen. I promise you that within a couple of years, you'll be fighting those business partners off with a stick, hopefully a locally grown stick at that. I'm not talking about sponsorship, I'm not talking about CSR, although there is a place for both. In some cases, it's a consummation of a relationship that might mean putting a business logo on a website or a Twitter feed or an interpretation panel or a vehicle. Your proposition is all about soft power. Advice, support, consultation, communication, it comes in many forms. You can convene and create opportunities for business to find out how people feel about them, their products, and the future. You are not the council. I apologise to all councillors in the room for that. Brands, choice and trust are the future currency in a digital marketplace. Why am I so optimistic? Where's the evidence that if you commit your scarce resources to this, it will deliver? Multi-stakeholder collaboration between business, NGOs, government and communities is delivering real success in some really big ticket areas like palm oil. One of those companies that we've never heard of, Wilmar, which controls 45% of the globe's palm oil production, has committed to zero deforestation by 2015. That's next year, not 2020 or 2030, next year. That will be delivered by the RSPO, the Roundtable on Responsible Palm Oil. And that roundtable includes all of those multi-stakeholders. Google has its Zeitgeist process that brings global doers together to achieve change. It also uses its knowledge and its analytics to drive SAVE, the Summit Against Violent Extremism, helping to prevent and tackle gang violence using online forums. Here, their analytics power networks of gang levers, get this right, working together to get more people to leave gangs. Closer to home, one of our parent companies, Interserve, has established a joint venture with the Irish NGO Rehab to deliver the work programme in Wales and the west of England. This is an example of business has brought capital, financing and back office systems to match the social enterprise customer-facing delivery skills, each playing to their strengths to meet the wider social need. And at Landmark, we're working with ex-forces, a social enterprise to support the military diaspora in all its guises to set up enterprises. Ex-forces works with individuals to secure funding from the Startup Loans Company, which is government, a BIZ programme, and we provide mentors, hubs and introductions because we believe that enterprise is a really important part of the solution. Business will join the dots and make the leaps it needs to stay in business. The AONB community can help accelerate that. It's not easy, it's often not pretty, and there are some big risks to be taken. Trust is the most powerful business asset available. It's why people invest in businesses, it's why they work for them, and it's why they award them contracts. And that sort of stuff is really important to us. Trust is challenged every day. The hyper-connected world that we live in has predicted that in some customer-facing businesses there is this thing called the consumer spring, which is the power of the consumer and the ability to start a Twitter story. Get it wrong, drop the ball, and you'll be ousted in minutes. Trust is what AONBs have in spades. You are trusted to deliver value, trusted to listen to your stakeholders, and to find solutions that keep as many players in the game as possible. You are not a regulator. You are advocates for responsible behaviour. You can make choices. You have a portfolio of AAA rated brands. You are authentic, connected and trusted. Why would I not want to work with you? Thank you.